And this time I want to talk about, you had this brilliant idea to go with the Cellist Notebook, which centers on this beautiful fragment of music by Linny, to have a contest to see who could write the most fitting musical fragment by Linny that Emily discovers in the notebook in the attic. So would you like to tell us just a little bit about what you're imagining there? What did you hear in your head when you were imagining Lenny's fragment?
Well, I mean, for Lenny, we go back into his life in the Second World War. We knew he was a composer. We knew he was a cellist. We know that he had a wonderful relationship with his sister, Rose, that they played music together, but he's also a composer. Now, to go through your life, I don't want to reveal too much about the story, but to go through life and maybe go through an incident where you lose memory. Somebody like him who had such a strong sense of melody and music as a child, and it was so much part of his makeup and upbringing. If you're bringing someone back to the present, in your present time, and you are listening to a melody, what melody would that be to that's so strong, that's so generational, that would appeal to a young person, someone whistling it, a child whistling? It's so distinctive that it sort of, it's just there, and it sort of, that somehow you could hear it and you would go, I know what that is, and I know what that relates to. So the idea of the contest is really about composing a little melody. It could be a little whistled melody. It could be just a little essence of something that Lenny potentially composed at that time, all that long time ago. What is that? What whistled? What is that sound? And what is that lyricism that comes out? So it could be a cello melody on its own. It could be cello and piano. It could be a whistled melody that could be easily arranged for cello and piano, or some such, but being distinctive, that it sort of, it makes you remember things. It plays on memory. So this whole idea of comes about from the Cellist Notebook, where melody and music is so vital to the storyline and memory. So the contest is there to compose a distinctive melody, and that's open to everybody. And whether you can notate music, whether you're humming a distinctive tune somehow, that it's open to all, and that it could work for this book, that somehow that works for that character in that setting, in that household, that can be heard. What is that? Now, there's the contest. It's open for submissions and entries of producing a distinctive melody that is fitting for the characters and the setting of the book.
Nana Rose's house sat upon a hill, with a river at the bottom, trees down along the paddock, and a rugged stony road leading to the door. It was miles from anywhere, and in the summer the front door was permanently open, welcoming any number of visitors, cats, birds, and wildlife into the hall. The herb garden, pungent with dill and sage, was overgrown, and as wild as the meadows above the house. The Peters family travelled every year to see Nana, but it was Emily who always insisted on staying the whole summer long, whilst everyone else wanted to jet off to somewhere hot or exotic sounding. For Emily, seeing the paddock from the main road was just the first hint of adventures to come, and she was brimming with excitement for what lay ahead. end of the landing, a small white handle was teased open gently, and with one tiny jolt, the narrow door opened, revealing a steep staircase which led up to what appeared to be the attic. Babu and Emily climbed the staircase on all fours. A small roof window meant that there was no need to switch on the light, and heavy raindrops could be heard clattering against the glass. The door closed behind them, startling them both, and Babu sped across the attic floor and meowed. "Shh," she said, knowing her Nana would not mind her exploring the house, but somehow creeping about a room she had never been in or knew about felt a bit strange. Babu hopped up on an old wooden set of drawers and curled his tail about his paws. Across from the cat, 2 large black cases lay on the floor. Both cases, although similar in shape, differed in size. Other than the 2 cases, the room was empty except for an old wobbly kitchen chair and some old velvet curtains Nana had removed some time back when decorating the sitting room. Eager to find out what was inside the cases, Emily placed her hand across the larger of the 2. L.T.P., she read out under her breath as her hand brushed over the 3 initials embossed on the top of the dusty case. She opened the latches, and to her absolute delight, she discovered the most beautiful instrument she had ever seen. The reddish-brown, full-sized cello had an ornately carved scroll with its 4 black oval tuning pegs. She touched each of the strings one at a time, with the big one first, through to the thinnest one. They were loose, so she could not pluck them or hear them make a sound. Not wanting to lift the cello out because it looked so delicate, she rifled through the velvet pockets inside. She found a small glass bottle with an oily yellowish liquid inside, and what looked like a box with something like the amber which her father collected. Her father's amber contained fossils inside, but this piece did not. She didn't know anything about string instruments, but knew there was always lots of parts and bits of things needed to keep the instruments in good working order. One day, when she was laying on her bed, daydreaming wistfully, Nana Rose could be heard playing the baby grand piano downstairs in the music room. Emily noticed that she was only playing the right-hand melody. She listened intently, waiting for the left-hand bass part to be played with the right hand, but the music would stop in the same place each time and was only played with one hand. Emily listened for some time before her Nana stopped playing, and then she ran downstairs to find her Nana getting up from the piano stool and closing the lid. "Nana, why did you not play the music fully with both hands?" Emily asked. Her Nana led her out into the kitchen and settled at the kitchen table with Babu at her side. "I remember your great-uncle Lenny playing the repeated melody that I was just playing. It was his own music composition. He used to play it on the cello, and I would accompany him on the piano. I would tell him that I thought it would be a major hit in the classical world, and that he should publish it, she chuckled. It's very distinctive, don't you think? Yes, it is, Nana. Where is the music for it? I don't know, her Nana responded. I looked on the shelves and couldn't find it. It must have disappeared. It was such a long time ago, she said. Nana Rose stroked Babu and kissed his nose. The second week of the holiday we drove up to a place in Cumbria which was a long way from any shops and stood on a hill. Sadly, it was freezing outside and I caught a bit of a cold, but there was a cat named Babu and he cuddled into me to keep me warm. Bertrand smiled and ate his hearty soup, listening intently to every word. Looking out of the window, he watched as a passer-by leant down and dropped some change into the cellist's cap. The young daughter played a cello just like that one. Have a look and see my photos. She passed her iPad to him, and he looked through the photos one at a time. Their Nana Rose never sat down for a moment. She was always on her feet. A busy bee's work is never done. This is what she said. Her grandfather stopped for a moment, took the handkerchief from his pocket and daubed his mouth. He remembered someone saying that to him before. The thought was fleeting. He looked at the photos and stopped at a picture of a grand house, and again a picture flashed into his mind of a piano as if he was sitting opposite it. His granddaughter excused herself and went to the bathroom, while Bertrand continued to look through the photos. When she ambled back, she hummed a tune under her breath and stood for a moment looking out across at the cellist. Sitting back down, she looked deeply into her grandfather's eyes. Bertrand continued to whistle the tune quietly to himself and carried on until she had stopped. I whistle this tune myself in my head sometimes. Wish I knew what it was called. Oh yes, that tune is what Emily, the sister of my pen friend, played on her cello. I'm sure of it. Scrambling for the video she took, she played it to him, and he watched and listened. Once again he whistled it back and continued to whistle the tune, as if completing the piece when the video clip had stopped playing. Wait a second, she said, and texted her friend. I'm just finding out what the tune is. A response immediately came back saying, I don't know. I'll have to ask Emily. Give me a second. Reading out the text, it said, it was composed by Lenny. In fact, it was written by my great-uncle Lenny before he died in the war. He never finished it completely, but I love the tune. Another text was sent. Why are you asking? All these texts were read aloud by Lucille. Because my grandfather knows it.